I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. So you saying you now like don't care? How do you think that translates to finally getting paid for this stuff?
Man, I know.
That's the thing.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword because we all know that the you can get paid, without having to do that. You can, but
do you get paid as much as you want to?
You don't get paid. We all know that you don't get paid as much as you want to when you're doing you. Yeah. They want you to do you, but they want you to do you in a packaged version of what they feel is more palatable to the rest of the
digestible, it's comfortable.
You can do you and be black, but don't be too black.
I often think about remember how Eddie Murphy, biggest superstar in the late 80s, early 90s. But those movies that he was in, where he was this blockbuster superstar, weren't necessarily characters where it had to be a black guy all the time.
No.
But besides maybe Boomerang and then the movie he directed, what was it with Richard? He was with Richard Pryor. I forget it. Is it Harlem Nights? Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Besides those two, most of those movies Eddie Murphy was in, it was just kind of it didn't really have to be a black guy. He just needed to be a funny person.
Exactly.
And so, of course, they wanted Eddie Murphy to really be him. But he didn't really get to do it in just black movies. Coming to America, I wouldn't even say it's just a really black movie because of how silly it is.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's an amazing movie.
But it's just I feel like they kind of used Eddie Murphy as that, and then Eddie was the only black dude really getting paid at that time too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's even a lot of people even say they only put on one black comedian at a time and things like that. And so it's just
I feel like we're moving a bit.
I think it's different now, a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely moving a little bit out of that mentality.
Yeah.
There was a time where it did seem like they were really only
5-10 years ago.
Yeah, they were only putting on one black comedian at a time or comedic actor at a time who blew the fuck up while everyone else was still doing their thing, but not nearly as much notoriety as that specific person.
Right.
But I feel like with the dawn of social media and more diversity in television and film, I don't know if I believe anymore that they're only just letting one person.
Right.
So
they kind of can't do that anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Because of the internet, it's but this guy's really funny. Why aren't y'all looking at him? Because now people, because I feel like it's kind of cool. Hopefully things will start to change for people of color. Because I feel like the people now can kind of choose who's going to be famous next.
Yeah,
the people can kind of choose who's funny and who's not, and that kind of thing.
We're seeing a definite. I feel like we're definitely seeing a shift too, with all the new television shows that are out.
The few new television.
The few, but more than 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're making some small steps, but we're making steps. We're making steps because you got TV shows that are now not only completely written and produced by someone of color, but they're winning Emmys.
Yeah.
And 5 or 10 years ago, that wasn't happening. So I feel like we are definitely making some strides.
Right. It's crazy. Lena Waithe was the first black female to win, and it's just it's 2017.
Yeah, she.
And it is her winning doesn't mean there weren't any funny black women writing comedy.
No.
It just means they weren't being recognized. And that sucks to think about people that were often, I guess, passed over. And so what I love about Lena Waithe, I feel like Master of None was one of those shows where it wasn't really packaged as something white people are going to like this. I think they just made a show. And it was really good.
Yeah.
And hopefully, when you see things like that, they'll start to realize that why don't we just let them do what they do? You know what I'm saying?
Because those are the shows that are rising above the fray to be the most successful. Shows like Insecure
and
Atlanta and Master of None. These shows were Survivor's Remorse on Stars.
Yeah, just got canceled though.
I know. This was a good show.
It was a great show.
And shows like that are purely told through the narrative of the black experience.
Yeah.
Those shows are highly successful. The exception.
Yeah.
But they're successful, and those shows are big examples that you don't necessarily have to do it the white way.
You don't have to pander.
You don't have to pander. Just do you and do your experience, and you'll find an audience because all these shows manage to find an audience.
Yeah.
So it's ironic that a lot of these shows, these black experience shows, like you said, they're doing well. They're finding an audience. Yet Survivor's Experience and the Gerard Carmichael show.
Carmichael show.
So these are shows that were really well done. They had they were finding audiences.
Yeah.
But you see that black TV shows a lot of the times, like throughout, like they don't. They aren't given a leash. Yeah, they aren't given as much of a chance. Like Conan,
they allow you to kind of
5
voice
years. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I'm glad you brought
but-
up the Carmichael show because I think the way the Carmichael show differed from a lot of black shows that are run by people of color, they really dug deep down into political discourse and conversations. Whereas, like, I love Insecure to death, but it doesn't really have any, I guess, like the social thing, like the social things or like political things. Yeah. But I think what it does do well is it just shows black people existing and just being black, and that's
normal,
dope. Yeah, and just being normal
everyday people. Yeah,
and that's dope because we don't get to see that.
Yeah.
But whereas with the Carmichael show, they would have these conversations like I was talking about in my monologue that would often make people feel uncomfortable, and so I think a show like that didn't really get the support and legs behind it because of what the subject matter. Right. And so I think oftentimes like people of color can make shows, but it's like, all right, but be careful talking about that because you don't know how they're going to take it and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Well, I'd even counter that by saying the shows like Gerard Carmichael, they might have gotten the support, but because of the content matter that the goalposts were adjusted a little bit and say, okay, because you're dealing with that content matter, because it's a black show and we don't want it to work anyways, then you have to outperform by this much percentage. Yeah. And I think that's the situation that black shows are in, where they're in a tough position where you have to do way better than your average person. Like, you look at how they used to treat like black quarterbacks. It's like if they threw a pick, it was like the end of the world.
Very short leash.
And so it's like, and it still kind of exists today. I mean, look at Colin Kaepernick.
Tyrod Taylor was even talking about that, the Bills quarterback. So that's a really good point. And it's just like, but it's crazy, like you were saying, but you can see the success that comes from just letting it be raw. Like, I feel like Atlanta was a great example of just a show being raw. Donald Glover had a writing room of just a couple people. It was him, his brother, cousin, he had some friends. And, like, I remember they had an episode where Ern, the main character, spends the day in, like, the holding place, like in Atlanta. They had a friend that went to jail. And so he helped write that episode, and it was raw, and it was like what really would go on. And just like a lot of times when you try to whitewash things, you're not going to get that real point across because there's just so many underlying tones and layers and things like that. But it's crazy. Even though these kind of shows have success, for some reason it's still hard for you to pitch them and get them on. Like Girls Trip, international box office success. When they pitched it, the studio was just kind of like, what can we do to make this appeal to a broader audience? And when somebody says, how can we make this appeal to a broader audience, what does that really mean?
A wider audience.
Yes. And so, but here's the thing: you had another movie that it wasn't the same movie, even though people were trying to compare them. They weren't the same movie. It was just 4 women were in it again, and it was a comedy that was more for a white audience, and it completely bombed in the box office. And that was what was the movie with Scarlett Johansson?
Rough Night.
Rough Night. It completely bombed. I didn't see the movie, so I can't say if it was bad or not. I won't go that far. But obviously there was something about it that didn't really appeal, even though it had a whole cast of white people in it. And so, but then you have this movie about 4 black women that go to a black festival in New Orleans. That's the blackest thing I've ever heard in my life, and it made over $100 million on the global. And so they try to say things like black stuff doesn't sell overseas or things like kind of that. I call BS because it's where we've continued to, I guess, break that ceiling and show that that's not the case. Yeah. But for some reason, it's still hard to get these projects made. I don't understand it. It's like if I have money and I see something's working, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Well, it's unfortunate that they just kind of label it. I think people actually do label it like this is a white project, this is a black project.
Right.
Whereas they should just have it based on meritocracy, because the 2 movies you were just referencing, Girls Trip and what was the other one?
Rough Night.
Rough Night, just from the trailer, it looked like it's poorly written. Yeah. Whereas Girls Trip, just from the trailer, it looks like it's well written. And so
which it was.
I think the unfortunate thing is studios actually go in and they label these projects, and what that does is it eliminates a lot of black projects that actually would hold up to the test of the meritocracy. But it's like, we can only have 1 black project. We can only have a project that's half black. You can't. If you had no limits and you based it off of the skill level and how good the project was.
Right.
I feel like a lot more minorities would be given a chance, but I think over and over Hollywood's proven that's not the system, and then they kind of act like it is, and then every Oscars they like to talk about how they're more diverse and more of this, and then it's like, well, why aren't your movies more diverse? Why aren't you people working on them more diverse? It just seems like your award show.
And they try to act like it's some big phenomenon when a black movie or any other people of color make a movie that does well, like Moonlight wins an Oscar, Girl Trip makes all this money, Atlanta does well. They'd be like, oh, this is amazing, it's a phenomenon. No, like we've been telling you this works, you just won't commit to it. Yeah. So it's just like every couple of years when it happens again, you try to act like this is some big thing, and Hollywood loves patting itself on the back like it did like somebody a favor or something.
Well, they're only patting themselves on the back because it's like it's a big deal because we set up the obstacles and made it so hard for you, and then they're patting themselves on the back